Hey guys, it's Rob from Team DBZ Biscuit, and I'm here with a, well, as we would probably say, a very different deck for me. This is something I built out of resentment for Trick Stars, basically. And as you can see, it's Gren Maju Da Eiza, and this is my deck profile for Banished. And believe me, this deck can get really ugly really quick. So let's dive it right into it. Start off with 3 of the Rockstar of the deck, and I'm telling you, as a common, and something that's never been more than a common, this card hurts. This card will hurt for days. I've done, on Dueling Nexus, I've had this thing up as high as 15,200. It gets 400 attack for every card that's banished. In a world where you banish cards face down, face up, this card does not care. Face up, face down, standing on its side, upside down, right side up, it don't matter. It gets 400 and it's a effect that's not activated. So many cards cannot stop it. It's ridiculous. Next up, another star of the deck. I run on a triple Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions, problem child. In the manual's terms, problem child. Banish from your extra deck, from your hand or your field, and he gains 100 attack for every face down monster, every face down card that's banished. So you banish your entire extra deck. And Eater of Millions will come out at 1500. But the neat thing is, he's at 1500, he attacks a monster, he doesn't target, his effect will activate, and he will banish that card face down, and he'll gain 100. Every time he sends your monster out of play, he will gain 100. So he's a problem child, and if you attack him, he will banish your monster face down. If you don't Regeki this guy, you don't Dark Hole this guy, I'm not responsible. How's that sound? And believe it or not, I'm sounding serious right now, but in all seriousness, I built this as a fun deck. And it's just getting so crazy, I have to do a deck profile. Dimensional Alchemist, good card. You can banish 1 card per turn. He'll gain 500 attack. And if that's a monster, if this card gets sent to the graveyard, he will get a face-up monster. So if you do something like a Gold Sark and you Sark a Gren Maju, you will get that. You can get that Gren Maju back. It's crazy. I run double Banisher of Radiance just because, you know, everything going out of play favors this deck. Everything going out of play favors this deck. And then say, I'll introduce you to Kaiku, and I'll introduce you to DD Assailant. These are Tekkens, because if I can do damage with Kaiku, I can banish 3 cards out of your graveyard. And DD Assailant, you know, he's one of those cards I can just set there. I can set, you can attack it, it goes to the graveyard, and then I can activate the effect to banish your monster as well as mine. So they're an interesting tech. In this deck I run a stall engine as well. I like to run 3 marshmallows, and when you see some of my spell cards, you'll understand why, because I do need some time for some of my spell cards to work, and Marshmallow is a great way to sit there and just stall. I know a lot nowadays people will just forget it and get out of the way, Dark Hole it, haha, I took 1,000, sit there and think it's a joke. You know, it's all fun and games until you get 30 cards out of play and you drop this on them. You know, it's all fun and games. So Marshmallow's there just to stall so I can get more stuff out of play. And with running a lot of banishing cards going out of play, you're going to be like, well, it must be really easy to run out of cards. You know, deck out. Not when you're on 2 Necrofaces. Necroface serves multi-purposes in this deck. One, he's a deck replenisher. I mean, I can banish my entire extra deck for Eater of Millions. I can play 2 Pot of Desires, summon this, and then everything that gets banished goes back to where it was, and he gains an extra 100. So 15, 25, 30, 3,500 plus 12, that's 47. So you're talking 4,700 attack power necroface on the field. So, you know, it's a good solid deck. It is a good solid deck, and necroface is a must in it. Because if you like to replenish, I played it on Nexus and I've had to replenish my deck twice. And this is where I'll curse at Konami, because you limited Psyframe Omega to 1. Because I remember playing a guy and he banished necroface out of my hand 3 times. And each time I had to say thank you. That does it for the monster lineup. On the spell card side, I run a 1/4 Dimensional Fissure and a 1/4 Upstart Goblin, as well as a Regeki and a Dark Hole. Now you say, why Regeki? Why Regeki and Dark Hole? But basically because, I mean, if I can't just take out your monsters, I'll sacrifice my own, especially if they're going out of play. I really don't, it really doesn't bother me, especially with that on the field. And the Upstart Goblin, reasoning behind that, playing with 39 cards is always better than playing with 40, essentially. This is out of the new set. I run 2 Ledgers. Ledger is also known on Dueling Nexus as Seer's Passbook. What it does is it banishes 3 cards face down, again, so it powers up Eater of Millions. And what it does is it will, in 3 turns, if I can survive the 3 turns, I get those 3 cards back to my hand. Which, when it's a Pot of Desires and a Gren Maju and an Eater of Millions, well, that pretty much spells trouble for you. So I like to run 2 of them. 3, it gets too clunky. I like to run 3 Gold Sarcophaguses, because the way I use Gold Sarcophagus is I use this as an insight card. If you make me go first, which this deck loves to do, again, if I Gold Sarc and I'm wondering what you're playing, I will Gold Sarc a Necroface. It doesn't matter, in 2 turns I'm coming back, but once it gets, remember, Necroface's other effect. Once it's banished, I banish the top 5, you gotta banish your top 5. And by what you banish, I get to see. So I will find out what you're playing turn 1, and then I can adjust and prepare for it. Good card at 3. I also run the 3 Pot of Desires, because banishing 30 cards and dropping a Gren Maju is so much fun. You know, Pot of Desires, plus it's a draw engine too. You know, you get to draw 2 unless somebody Ash Blossoms you or something like that. But then, in that case, I've been Ash Blossomed more times than not, and you know what? It still doesn't hurt. The whole idea of this deck is get the stuff out of play as fast as you can, without decking out. That's why I don't play Golden Castle or Stromberg. Trap cards. My trap lineup brings back some oldies but goodies. I will admit that. It brings back a lot of oldies but goodies. Welcome back 1 Macrocosmos. Macrocosmos doesn't just send monsters, it sends everything out of play. You play monsters, you play spell cards, you play trap cards, it's all going out of play. I run 3 bottomless trap holes because trying to protect her Banisher of Radiance is key. You know, Banisher will send everything out of play, so I will, you know, let you summon your big ass monster against my Banisher, and then I'll bottomless it. I play 3 Torrential Tributes. Again, thank you Konami for bringing this card back to 3. Because until I'm sitting there and I'm trying to survive, and say you are a Cyberx player, and you want to sit there and special, and all of a sudden you're sitting there thinking you got your Boar load, guess what? I say no you don't. You get your 4 monsters, I'm going to activate one of those, and I'm going to send it somewhere else. I love it. I love making people put in the work and then just messing with it. And then my last 3 trap cards, 3 of my all-time favorites. You guys haven't seen them in a while. You'll have to go back to my early days of joining the team to find this card. And it's Memory of an Adversary. Underrated trap card, yes. Aggravating as all hell trap card? Oh yeah, definitely. I have Memory of an Adversary's effect. I take direct damage equal to the attack of the monster. and that monster gets banished, at the end of your next turn, that monster is now mine. I mean, I remember doing it to a guy's Beals. I've done it to a Crystal Wing. I've done it to so many cards because I'm not afraid to take 3K to the face with this deck, because if I take 3K to the face to this deck, with this deck, it's game on, because I'm going to get your monster by memory of an adversary. I remember somebody telling me that card seems really unfair. Well, you know what? These times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Aren't fair times, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, that does it for the main deck. The side deck, I'm still working on, and it's a work in progress. And I know there's some changes that are going to occur with this deck, like Soul Absorption is a good card for this deck, because gaining 5,000 attack power, 5,000 life points off of a Pot of Desires is a really good idea. But, you know, that's the deck. As for an extra deck, honestly, right now I don't have one built, and I'll tell you why, because 90% of the time, the only thing you're doing with your extra deck is bringing out frickin', what's his name there? Eater. You bring out Eater, you know, I mean, playtesting with a manual one day, I brought out an Eater and banished 15, I played a Pot of Desires, and I brought out a Gren Maju, and I banished his monster and hit him for a game. I mean, it was, you know, playtesting is great. The deck, like I said, built it for fun, but honestly, you know, I'm waiting for my next regional to come up, and I think I'm going to play it, because it's just, I mean, if it doesn't get me my invite, you know what, it's going to get me the Heart of the Day award, you know. So it's a great deck to play. It's really low budget. I mean, there's no really expensive cards in it, and it's a fun deck, and it's a lot of, you know, if you're new to the game, it's really easy to play that deck. There is no, you know, flashy technical mumbo jumbo going on here. This is a straight, you know, if you don't hit me, I'm gonna rip your face off kind of deck, and it's basically typically me. It's rogue as all hell, and you know, I enjoy it. All right, but hey guys, it's nice to see you again. It's nice to be back on DBZ Biscuit, and I'm Rob, and I am out of here. Like and subscribe to that channel, and I'll see you next time around.